Hi, everyone. Welcome to Adobe Live. Today, I am here with one of the most skilled photo editors in the game right now. Her name is Sarah. Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining. So I'm a photo editor, like Zara said. Here is my Instagram, Sarah Snapshots. Came up with the name when I was a kid, so it's just
Wow.
always stuck together. But yeah, I edit photos. Here's like a
Yeah.
little before and after myself in Japan. So I love removing people from photos or like
Right.
fixing a veil like this one.
Wow. Awesome. What is the craziest thing someone's ever asked you to remove? Because I've seen your kind of compilations, like things I've removed from a wedding photo and things like that. What's like the craziest thing you've been asked to remove?
I think the craziest like edits I've done are just like the ones that take forever. And
Mm.
there's one where is it? Oh, I had to remove this guy and I was able to because it's such a cute photo. They didn't have a lot of photos.
Oh
And I
my
was kind of
God.
like, there's no way, like I can't see your face, but I was like, just
Right.
send me every photo you have from your wedding day. And I was
Yeah.
able to like piece it all together. So like her arms from a different photo, her dress, her necklace, her hair, her veil,
Wow.
her face. So that was like pretty
Yeah.
crazy, but she was super helpful in being like, yeah, here are all my photos. Like, she's like, I trust you. And so I love it when a client says that, like, I trust you. I'm like, okay, cool. I can make it work.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. And I want to just drop into the chat really quick. I see you have a couple people logging in. We have some people from London. We have, let's see, Cody is coming in. He didn't say where he's from. Cody, let us know where you're from. Let's see. Cody's on both. He's on Behance and YouTube. Wow.
nice.
Multitasker. We've got Ray. Hi, Ray. Hi, Helena. Hi, Robert. Drop into the chat. Let us know where you're logging in from, guys. And Sarah, tell us what are we going to be removing today? What are we going to be jumping into?
Okay, so I have this wedding photo back in
Yeah.
2020. And I'm gonna be removing this is my in-laws, so this is my husband's family, and I'm gonna be
Ooh.
removing an X today because that's also
Ooh.
a very common request, especially during the holidays. You're trying
Oh,
to think of gifts to give your mother-in-law or your family or whatever, and
yeah.
usually it's like a photo. So this is perfect. But we're gonna be moving this guy. I'm moving my sister over. So. What I like to do is when you first open Photoshop is just creating 3 layers. I've been doing this long enough where I hate losing something. So this is just to see like your before and after, and this is just a backup, your background. But
Mm.
so I start with that, and then I go over to the side panel here and click on the selection tool.
Okay.
The object selection tool is super neat. They came out with it, I don't know, several years ago, I think. But
Yeah. Mhm.
basically, you draw a square over like where you want to select, and then a
Right.
load, and then it selects the people, or it like creates objects. So it gets
Ooh,
super accurate where you can even, yeah, just get the hair or something,
right.
which I love. And then if you want to refine it, I just right click and select in mask.
Mhm.
And and some people you can go in and really fine tune this. I feel like it depends on the photo editor. They'll go in and like select exactly what they want. I kind of just like doing a general area
Hmm.
just because it's not important. Which actually we're gonna be removing him. Sorry guys, I clicked the wrong person.
What are we doing with the baby?
We're, okay, so technically that baby is her kid, but since I guess there's no kids in there, I think I'm just gonna be removing him because I'm not sure if I can make her holding him. Maybe
I
in a
got it.
different photo, but
Collateral. It's collateral
collateral.
damage.
He's older now, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay. Nice.
But
And these pictures, other people send them to you, right? These are not pictures you take.
yeah, other people will just send their photos in. So yeah, most of them I don't take. Um, I used to do weddings a lot, but now I just don't really have time for that.
Mm.
So a few times, maybe like in the fall, I'll do one or two weddings and I'll edit a few photos, but most of the time it's just what people send me. So
Yeah.
it's nice. So I
Awesome.
just kind of moved her over and she's a new layer over here. And I like to just
Oh.
rename them too because they do get confusing, but you don't have to.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
I like to just select the next person over too.
Hmm.
And this is super helpful if like any photographers are watching. I feel like photos get missed a lot too. That's also really common, like Christmas gift is like putting
Yeah.
a mom and a bride together, or a grandma or something like that.
Yes.
And so this is actually pretty easy that you could pretty much do this in Lightroom because I feel like a lot of photographers use Lightroom or Lightroom Classic.
Mm-hmm.
So once you learn how to do that, it's pretty nice. And then you could just kind of toggle between here, which we kind of missed this, his pants right there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm more of like, I like erasing to make it perfect, which I'll show you in a second. And so
Okay.
right here, I just kind of moved Riley underneath the guy,
Mm-hmm.
since you can kind of see his arm more. So she's just gonna like sit behind him.
I see. Okay.
And we'll kind of fix that later, but I like to now that we have all our layers, you can go to your background layer and we can fix this part. So the stamp tool, the clone stamp tool, as many people probably recognize. If not, it's super useful. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
just works like a stamp. So you alt and click where you want to like stamp. You
Mm-hmm.
click it and like now it's like has it on there and then you can just start clicking and dragging. And if you look there, you can kind of see my cursor, the plus sign of where you're drawing from, which is kind
Got
of
it.
nice. Yeah.
Okay, so we're just continuing the background in.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
this is super nice that it's grass.
Mhm.
Because with like brick or
Yes.
a lot of lines, you're like, oh, why is not matching up? Which is a little
Yes.
more complicated. Um, but yeah, there's a couple of like repeats which you can kind of just like stamp and get rid of so it doesn't look as like jarring, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of like to follow the lines. So here's a line and then this gate line.
Hmm.
And so we can just click here, which,
Oh, yeah, this is going to be interesting.
yeah, and then you can just kind of follow along. And so since she's a layer, now you could just like color underneath her, which is super
Whoa.
nice. Like you don't have to like worry about like going into like
Oh,
super
snap.
detail. So like now you
Yeah.
could literally just like color right here and
Yeah,
she's still there. Whereas if you got rid of it, right, it's all
exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
we can just kind of messily color this in because actually I'm gonna try some generative AI. Let's see how this
Somebody
works.
just asked that too in the chat. So
Okay.
Ray says, is your job going to be easier with Gen Fill? I was wondering the same thing, how we were going to use maybe generative AI or anything like that. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. For a lot of my projects, sometimes if there's no horizon line, it really
Mm,
helps me get an idea of what's going on. So this photo is pretty easy because you can see like there's like the baseline, right? And you can see the horizon. Sometimes where it's like a really crowded area, I love starting out with AI to be like, okay, what does AI think is going to be behind these people,
mm,
right?
mhm,
And then to make AI easier and not like super blurry, I like
mhm.
to take out the chunks, right? So since there was enough of the grass, I start out with the clone stamp. But then with this
Okay.
fence, since there's all these bushes kind of behind here and like a fence going on, I'm just
Mhm.
gonna kind of see what it thinks. And I'll
Hmm.
probably keep these bushes right here because I kind of like what is that, the curbside or whatever.
Right.
And then I like to just test it out, generative fill, like I don't even type anything in. I just kind of see what is it gonna do.
What is it
Because
going to do? Right.
sometimes, and it'll give you tips, which is super nice. Like, don't say remove, don't say move, don't go
Really?
so fast. Yeah, so that kind of helps too, like to kind of master what to put in,
Yeah.
um, which is cool. So we go through this, and it's kind of like just a little bit blurry, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
like, I kind of like this. So it's
Right.
almost kind of bush. So like from here, I'd be like, um, large
Hmm.
green bushes, because I think that's like kind of like what turned out better.
Hmm. I'm so curious to see what this is going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. And yeah, sometimes it is a little bit, oh, that's kind of cool. A
Yeah, that
hedge.
is interesting,
I love
right?
that. And see, that makes it look way better than like before, where it
Look at
was
the
like kind of
circles.
blurry. I know. I kind of like that. And even if I got rid of this fence too, just kind of like making a
Yeah.
hedge line, I kind of like this because I feel like it matches just like the going into the trees.
Yeah.
Um, so then most of the time when you create a generative layer, if you want to like mess with it, it's gonna
Hmm.
pop up this. So you just like rasterize the object, and that way you can also erase it. So if you like
Hmm.
you didn't like a certain part, you can kind of like go like that. But I usually combine it with the layer below. You just like highlight them both, click them both,
Yeah.
and then Control E. Oops.
Oh,
And that
interesting.
way it's just like the bottom layer now. And now I can kind of like mess with this because this is
Yeah.
like looks a little bit messy right here.
Mm,
So I just kind of
gotcha.
like touch it up with what's in the
Hmm.
photo.
To
So
blend the AI with reality.
yeah.
Love
So it
that.
definitely helps me with like my edits. If this was like more of a client edit, I probably would make it like more what the
Hmm.
original is because I feel like some people would be like, well, why is there a hedge there? Right. But
Hmm.
for personal projects, it's kind of cool because like, oh, what do I like? Like what's gonna look
Yeah.
cool?
Yeah.
So
All
now
right,
I
I'm gonna, oh, sorry to cut you off.
no,
I
no,
was just
go.
gonna say, let's jump back into the chat really quick. Got a couple people saying where they're from. So Sierra is tuning in from North Carolina. Carmen is saying this is fire. She was asking too if it's possible to get rid of the fence in the background, and you just showed yes, it is possible.
Oh yeah.
Maybe she's talking about the wooden fence. And then let's see. Question from YouTube. Oh, someone was just asking if it was possible to get rid of the fence as well. Okay, wow.
Nice. Yeah, we could totally get rid of the fence. And this would definitely be like if this was a client and they wanted me to get rid of all the fence, it would
Hmm.
definitely be more of the expensive side because we're gonna have to go in and fix all of these people, right? They have like super fine line of hairs. So first, what I would do is fix this part. Um, and again, I like just selecting the people
Yeah.
so that they like don't disappear. Because I think sometimes when you like click on the person, it's gonna like change the side of their shirt, right?
Mm.
Because it's like um, just like not defined. So I just go in and make sure that they're a separate layer.
Mm-hmm.
This is my cute brother and sister with their two kids.
Right.
Adorable. Oh, and then there's that hand,
And that knee.
the knee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
Got it. Good.
Awesome. And then I just Control C, Control V, and then it's a new layer. So
Got it. Hmm.
the Naylor family. And that way, um, sometimes, let's see, if I wanted to continue this right here, I feel like it's kind of helps AI to like
Mm.
separate it,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. But I guess I feel like the fence would look different. So
Yeah.
maybe we could continue this tree over here. Oh, and here's a nice trick that helps make your photo look different and not like clone stamp is going over here to the clone source panel. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm I have so many tips. I'm like, wait, you have to do this.
Yeah.
And you spin it to like what side you want. So if you like
You can do
this,
that?
and yeah, and that way it's like now it's like moved to the right and you can kind of see like it drag.
Oh, whoa. Wait, so how did you open up that tab? Because this is, you're putting me on too. I didn't even know you could do this.
Let's see, let me move this bar. The clone source panel is going to be right here. So if all of your panels are in, which sometimes it's like that, you just click these little arrows. And
Nice.
most of the time your history is going to be right here, right? So you can kind of see like where to go back if you want. If
Wow.
the clone source panel isn't there, go over to window and
Hmm.
click clone source. And this is
Hmm.
also where like if your generative fill bar isn't up, it's called the contextual text, well, contextual taskbar, and just everything else too. If like
Hmm.
libraries, materials, history, all of that is going to be, and it'll show up like either right here in one of these panels. So
Okay, got it. Also, we have a couple more questions in the chat if you want.
yeah, let's hear.
Okay, so Carmen has asked some really good questions here. So I know you mentioned, if people wanted certain things removed from the photo, it might be a little higher in price. She said, for a client, how much would something like this cost, like an estimate?
Something like this, um, depending like that, this part took a really short time, but like I said, I would probably make it more like how it was that day, where it's like you can
Mm-hmm.
still see the fence in the background, and
Mm-hmm.
removing all of this fence too. I probably charge mm, like 160 or something for it.
160.
Just because it
Got it.
probably like going through all these people's hairs, which I'll show you, does kind of like take a long time. But
Yeah.
sometimes like stuff turns out shorter or longer. So sometimes I feel like that evens out my pricing because sometimes I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
that didn't take as long. But sometimes I'm like, this is taking 2 extra hours than I planned,
Yeah.
which is just, the life of an artist, I feel like. So,
Yeah. What's the longest amount of time you spent on a single photo? Because I know it can get deep.
yes, I have to sometimes just stop doing it and just take a break. Like, I'll work on this tomorrow because I'll be like spending three. Oh, that's hilarious. It just did a fence. That did not work. Which I think it's because it's like seeing this fence too.
Right, right.
The longest I've probably spent on a photo was like 7 or 8 hours, and I'm pretty sure it was like
Ooh.
removing people, a ton of people from like a crowded area, right? It's always when there's no horizon line and I just have to figure it out. I think it was like a Universal photo. It was like a photo
Mm.
from Universal Studios, and I had to like recreate all of like the intricate background, and I totally underestimated like how intricate it was. I was like,
Oh
oh,
gosh.
okay, here we go. But it was worth it. So
Yeah. Somebody asked as well, this may be far-fetched, but can the AI create a beach setting? So could you put these people on the beach?
you totally could. Ready?
You could.
Okay.
Oh gosh. All right, she's about to show us.
I'll remove this and then I'll go to that. This one too, like if I was removing the background, like the veil, right, would
Yeah.
be hard to recreate with the beach.
Ooh.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So this is a little messy, but we'll just leave that. If I were to create a beach background, let's see, I would select everyone,
Okay.
and then just go and select a mask and just make sure like everything is covered,
Mm.
like the shoe. So it always kind of like misses something, right?
Yeah. Which
Uh,
I'm super curious too with the veil. Like, how is it gonna kind of get rid of like the greenish under the veil and then make it a beach?
yeah, that would be interesting. I guess for that, I would like not select the veil and see what it
Mm.
does.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Let's see. This is kind of like the automatic thing, but this is kind of like the paintbrush too, if it's
Got
being
it.
a little glitchy.
Okay.
So, so then I kind of go in and like erase the
Mhm.
grass from like the people layer, I guess.
Right, right.
But some people, right, like they'll go in and like select every fine pixel. But in
Mhm.
my opinion, even when I select it super well, I feel like I still have to like erase kind of like the layer. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so Control V, and then from this layer, I would literally just select the whole thing.
Mhm.
And then this one I'd do like beautiful sunset. I guess it's like the middle of the day, so
Right.
beautiful day at the beach or something. The lighting's super
Okay.
important. So yeah, like it's not really sunset right here. Actually,
Mm.
I'm pretty sure this is like the summertime. I think this is like 8 p.m., but it's
Mm.
still like super bright out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's so fun. So probably not that one. This
Mhm.
one kind of like got like the focal point right, I feel like. You'd
Mhm.
obviously remove like this green part,
Wow.
but
Like,
but
what is that?
I know I don't know what's going on over there. That's kind of
Maybe they
funny.
want to give you like tropical vibes, like,
I know, yeah. It's kind of funny. But
yeah.
like from here too, you
Yeah.
can just like select this,
Mm.
see, and then just sand.
Oh, wow. So you're like double layering your
Yeah,
generative fill. That's smart. I'm learning so many cool tips here that I would have never thought to try.
right.
I'm,
Yeah,
mhm.
go for it.
Oh, I was gonna say, I was wondering too, chat, like, what is the craziest thing you guys have had to remove from a photo? I know some of you are photographers. I'm sure we've got some videographers and some illustrators as well. So drop what your profession is, and then what is the craziest thing you've had to remove? But yeah, you were saying, Sarah, sorry.
Oh yeah, like I think that's the key of using generative fill is like not expecting it to just be like a one click saves all, but kind of being like, okay, like what can I recreate? Like I have this, and so I would probably change these trees in the back because they're looking a little wonky. Maybe add
Mhm.
more of like, purple red sunset in the back, or like
Ooh.
make the sky more pink. And then like I felt like the people should be a little bit bigger. So right now you can take all those layers and just move them around and
Yeah.
even like making it so it's like, it's just like slightly in the background, which I think is super cool that you can do.
I see. And probably maybe like maybe a little lens blur, something like that,
Yeah,
so
something
that
like
it,
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
And then
Okay.
like I would go in here, right, and just erase their feet. And
Mm,
then this would be kind of a perfect transition to like putting sand over their feet instead of grass, since like they're kind of like all covered.
mhm.
So that's like a perfect fit instead of like being like on concrete where I'd have to like figure out what their toes look like, right?
Mhm.
So that would take a while too if I was to do that, but doing this on sand would be super easy.
Wow. Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so that's like pretty much it. You can kind of play however you want it. For this person, you just make sure you clicked on the layer and oh, oops, too many layers selected. And then just like go in and erase it, erase them. So that way it's not
Whoa.
like, and if like this part, right, is part of her dress, and I'll
Yeah.
just like add to it. So I'll just like clone stamp. And
Mhm.
if it's all like wonky, it's from like my last selection. So this
Yeah.
is resets it. And
Mhm.
then, oh, whoops, maybe it's not. Just kidding. It is part of this. So you kind of just fine tune that. And since she was already next to a person, she kind of already has a shadow there.
Mm.
If you want to add a shadow, I like to add a levels layer, which actually
Ooh.
they have a brush for that now, which is kind of cool.
They have a
Right, that,
levels brush?
yeah, this is that's the old way to do it, but now there's an adjustment brush tool over here. It's just below the blur tool. And so you click on that and then you go up here. This is kind of awesome. And you can select any kind of thing you want. So brightness, contrast, levels, hue and saturation. I like levels for shadows because I feel like it just looks more
Mhm.
authentic.
Mhm.
Um, and then you just go in and brush where you want. I think, wait, just kidding. You have to be on the layer. Make sure you're on the layer and then start brushing. So it's kind of gonna do like an automatic coloring. Maybe you guys. And so then you can go up here and
Mhm.
fix that. So I usually like color like maybe just a little bit or even like right here, depending
Mhm.
on like how stark the difference is. Honestly, I think just like a little bit like that is good.
Ooh. What's
So
your favorite thing to remove or edit? Like when a client, emails you or reaches out and they're like, "Hey, I need X, Y, and Z done." You're like, "Yes, finally."
definitely like wedding photos like this, or even I have this Christmas photo from like 5 years ago. And
Mhm.
it's like removing people. I just think
Mm.
that's so fun.
Mm.
Um, Especially when it's like in a popular area. Like I just had this one from Lisbon
Mhm.
and it was like one of those like famous arches and I had like removed everyone. Or like in Spain, La Sagrada Familia, like that
Mm.
big cathedral. I just love doing that because I just think it looks so satisfying at the end.
Yeah.
And it's just like if I want to print this photo, this is I actually have a twin sister, if you guys didn't know.
What?
And this is her, and this is when we were dating our boyfriends at the time.
Mm.
And this is in Vegas, which this is where we're from. And we went to this Christmas thing. And so I saw it and I was like, oh, I've always, and this is before I did photo editing, I've always
Yeah.
wanted to remove these people. So I'm like, how perfect would it be
Yeah.
to remove this? Because it's just like, it's kind of a special moment. And like,
Mm.
I think most people are like, oh, why would you spend the time or money like removing, people from those photos? And I'm like, I just think
Right.
it's like, it makes it
Just makes
look
it
more
perfect.
like how I remembered it. Like I remember it like just us four being there, not it being
Yeah.
super crowded. Um, so those are definitely my favorite. Or if I let's see if I look on my Instagram, something like this, like if it's a challenge. So this is the before,
Mhm.
and they never got like a photo of like just them on the staircase,
Mhm.
and so I removed everyone, and that was like. I love those requests. I'm like, I can do it. I'm like,
Right.
and this one definitely took several hours.
Whoa.
Um, but it was just super fun to be able to like extend the photo and like even she didn't want like the
Whoa.
shadow anymore. And then her flowers were kind of wilted. So these are actually like flowers from earlier that day. And just trying to get all like the shadows right and like her veil. Definitely time consuming, but
Whoa.
yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah, and totally worth it too, because it looks so much more intentional like that, you
Yeah.
know? Like the first one, it's like, yeah, it's cool for the memories, but this is like art. This is what you hang above your fireplace, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think um people don't think about that. Like they're like, oh, it's all
Mhm.
part of the moment. And I think a lot of requests too, like, oh, I love like Paris ones. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, how do we not know like her dog has passed away, right? This is probably
Oh,
like such
yeah.
like a cute memory for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like this one of like her and her mom where like I removed the people.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love those because it's just like so heartwarming where it's like, oh, this is like
Yeah.
the last photo I have. Like, can you fix it? I'm like, oh, yes, please. They're like, you
Yeah.
guys are so sweet.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
so definitely love doing that. Here it's kind of cool how symmetrical it is.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of trying to like clone stamp your way through this, is I just like to copy the left side. And
Yeah.
then if you control T, you can kind of move it as its own layer. It's
Mm.
already made one. And then
Mm-hmm.
if I love my keyboard shortcuts, but if you don't remember them, it's going to be in the edit panel. And
Okay.
it says it right here too. Free transform or control T
Mm-hmm.
or command T, I guess. And then transform. So you can either scale it, rotate it, skew it, distort it, perspective, or flip horizontal. So if you click that, it's gonna flip it. And then
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of just move it over here. And it
Mm.
like almost matches. You can kind of play around with it. I like to like distort it just so like it matches up with these lines.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. Or you can kind of see, I guess she has like that rail right here, but like
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I kind of like it like that. But if
Yeah.
you wanted to match it more, you can change the opacity
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of like match over here and it's probably a little bit smaller,
Mm-hmm.
distort, and just mess around with it. That opacity change really helps you like see the background.
Yeah. Looks like you've got another question too. I think this one's a little funny. So Carmen says, can you put them in front of the Eiffel Tower? I don't know if she meant the people that were kind of like to the side of the Eiffel Tower or if she means
Oh, like
you
on
and
my
you and your family, like I guess turn the tree into the Eiffel
that would
Tower.
be so funny. I think generated fill, that's funny. Let's see what it does.
That would be funny. I'm
Let me
I'm so curious too. I guess it's like you said earlier, like a lot of fine tuning, a lot of tweaking, and just kind of getting the lighting right. I feel like is the
yeah.
hardest part to kind of know, like when somebody looks at it, they're not like, oh, this is clearly edited. Like you want them to look
Yeah,
at it and be like, wow, what a beautiful picture in front of the Eiffel Tower.
right. So this just changed it to a bunch of Christmas trees. You could try looking up
Hmm.
Eiffel Tower. Just images on Eiffel Tower, or I guess Adobe
Ooh.
Express
Hmm.
has stock images, which are probably
Hmm.
going to be a lot better, but just
Okay.
for the time being, you can look up a picture and let's see. I feel like we should do like a lit up one
Hmm.
and just save image. It feels like illegal doing this, but I don't think it is. It's on Google. So
I was wondering that. I have heard that there are certain legalities about, but isn't
this
it?
way.
I could sound so crazy for
The
saying this
phone.
if I'm wrong, but I heard like at night you can't take them. Is that correct? If anybody in the chat knows
Yeah, I'm
the
not.
legalities surrounding pictures of
I
the Eiffel Tower.
oh, that's true. I think yeah, sometimes it's like for like brand deals too. Like you can't use like a famous monument or even like a place.
Uh,
Um, but I think if you're gonna take this image off, it's gonna be super small and pixelated. So it's not really gonna be worth it to use it for your photo. It's more
yeah.
of just like I think my it's not loading. Let's see. Oh, there we go.
Hmm.
I just save it in downloads. Save.
Okay.
There we go. Um, it's gonna be super small, but if you use stuff like Adobe Stock, it's gonna have like way more pixels in the photo. It's gonna look way more realistic. So actually having like a
Hmm.
variety of photos that like even people who buy, it's gonna make your photos look 10 times better. Whereas just using, let's see, if you use this, you can choose a reference image and we'll go over to downloads and you can just click that. So now it's gonna use this as a reference and then you
Hmm.
generate. So let's see if it
Yeah.
works. But this kind of helps too if people want me to like change their shirts, right? Like
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh, like, well, what are you thinking? And they'll send me a photo of like a shirt. See, okay, look at this. It's like super, just super tiny. Like it looks
Yeah.
almost like drawn, which is kind of cool. Like I love how it even got this part out, which is kind of fun.
Mhm.
It kind of followed the building line. That's actually pretty impressive. So even from there, maybe you could find like a better picture of the Eiffel Tower and then put it in
Right.
there and then maybe
Wow.
change the purple sky. But I loved how it like took that away from the Christmas tree. That's super cool.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And just
Yeah.
even finished like created an opening
Yeah, I know. I'm
There,
like, that's like, I love how that would work. And that way I don't have to like go in and fix like their hair. Like I can just create like a little bush because
yeah,
I guess technically that Vegas has an Eiffel Tower. So it wouldn't be too far off.
it wouldn't.
Uh, in Vegas, let's look.
Oh, and you have a couple more questions. One of them I think you kind of just answered now. It was Rodrigo. He said, "Wow, but can we make this without AI?" And I think this is kind of in a way, like if you're downloading the photos from Google Images and things like that, that's not quite AI, but do you have anything else to add to that? And then I've got another question for you.
Yeah, technically, if you wanted to use this without AI,
Hmm.
so see this photo is super tiny. But like if you were to select the Eiffel Tower, let's just say you're
Hmm.
gonna select this whole thing, you can copy it and then paste it in here,
Hmm.
and you can kind of see how tiny it is compared to my photo. So it kind of shows you like what you kind of want for your image. And what I would do is you paste it in there and then you erase it. You
Mm.
can there's different erasing tools that you can
Okay.
use. Um, I would go in. This looks obviously not the best, but you go
Hmm.
in and then I would change the coloring and lighting of this image to match this image.
Mm.
So I feel like a way to do that, we can just use this layer because I think it looks prettier.
Hmm.
Is you go over to the layer panel or
Hmm.
image panel, sorry, adjustments, and then match color, which we need to rasterize this part. Sorry,
Okay.
that's always kind of annoying, but okay, match color, and this
Hmm.
panel is going to show up. And then you want your source to be from the image you're working on. So let's see, first Christmas. And then the layer you want it to match is usually the background. Sometimes I'll make a small layer, be like, I want it to just match this. But if you do background, you can kind of see it like try to match the lighting,
Ooh,
um, which is like kind of cool. This is that kind of
yeah.
generative fill. So it's like it kind of already tries to, but you
Hmm.
can kind of mess with this. Um, to like so match it. So I feel like the yellows are lighter. So like maybe bringing it up just a little bit. Color
Mm.
intensity, you can bring that down because I feel like this photo isn't really saturated. Kind of
Yeah.
do that. I usually always try this first when I'm trying to like add people to a photo.
Hmm.
Um, and you can kind of just like see it. And then once I do that, um, I make a selection layer or selective color layer.
Whoa. And you said this
Um,
match color tool. How do you access this one again? Is that in the window tab?
yeah, click the layer that you want to work on. And then,
Got
yeah,
it.
just up here where your file is, click image, adjustments, and then match color.
Image adjustments match color.
Match color.
Understood. And you've got another question here from Carmen. Carmen's very active in the chat. Love it. Um,
Thanks.
yes, shout out to Carmen. So it says, what's the craziest request she's had with a very short turnaround? Ooh. So has anyone ever kind of pressed you like, hey, we need this by tomorrow. We need this by tonight. Remove half our family.
Yeah. I think
Really?
not really. I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna turn this sad, but usually with requests that they need by tomorrow, it's usually for a funeral, and so they want to be able to print out photos of loved ones. I know it's so sweet,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Hey, the service is this time. Is there any
Yeah.
way you can print it out?" And so usually I'll do like some kind of expedite fee, but for those, I'm always like, "Oh my goodness!"
Right, right,
Like,
right.
it's just like so sad because like I know they're going through like such a hard time, and they're just trying to find, and I know that because I've had immediate family members in my family pass away, and it's like it just is so sudden. You're trying to look through all these photos, and you're like, wow, I don't even have like a good one of just them. So
Yeah.
most of the time, it's like, oh, this is a really good photo of her. Can you remove us? So it's like just her,
Mm-hmm.
or oh, they're wearing sunglasses. Can you like face swap them? So it's usually something like that, and it's just like so, I guess, tender to see, like especially when it's like you just daily life, you're scrolling on Instagram, there's so many photos. You think we have iPhones and
Yeah.
like so many ways to take photos now, but yeah, then when it comes down to it, you're like, oh, but I don't have just this one photo.
Yeah.
It's just like kind of heartbreaking, like I don't know, to see that in this day and age too. But so
Yeah.
I'm really glad that I'm able to like help them with that, like, oh yeah, here you go. So
Yeah. Yes, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's
yeah.
great when we can, use our craft for a positive purpose or an impactful purpose because we never know, like, the imagery we create could literally change somebody's life.
Yeah. Yeah, I really could. I had one of my friends over and it was this selfie I took this girl took of herself and I removed like the shadow.
Mm,
And she was kind of like, "Oh, like that's like kind of weird. Like why would she pay for that? Like she could just take a new selfie." And I was like,
hmm.
"Well, actually like I we don't even know if this is her, like if this is somebody's daughter, like if they're long distance or if they passed away. Like this is probably
Oh,
like all they have and they just like wanted to be able to remove that." And so I think that's like kind of cool to think
yeah.
about like, oh yeah, like this really could be the last photo of their dog. This really could be the last photo of all the family together. I feel like that happens a lot. Is like, this is the last photo we have of grandma. Like, can you
Yeah.
remove these X's? You know, like people aren't in the family anymore. Because it is sometimes hard to get like, the whole family together.
Yeah, no, that's very true. That's very true, especially when people live on like other sides of the country or other
Yeah.
sides of the world. Oh my goodness. I can only imagine.
Yeah. Definitely
Hmm.
hard. Okay, so next, I feel like my most used apps for Adobe is definitely Photoshop and Adobe Express.
Hmm.
Um, So Adobe Express, I usually use it on the web, but you can also use it on your phone. So I feel like a lot of the stuff, as you guys can see from 11 months ago, before and after photos,
Hmm.
I feel like this photo I showed you earlier, did get a lot of like views and likes. And it's because I kind of like showed like what I was doing instead of just doing like before and after,
Hmm.
or I guess this is the
Oh,
after versus
okay.
before. So I'm going to show you kind of like what I kind of do when I'm going to like post stuff and how I use Adobe Express. I'm not really like a graphic designer, so I love the templates they do. So sometimes when I look at before and after, which kind of shows like exercise stuff, but I've actually already favored some stuff. Let's see,
Okay.
favorites. So this is me just kind of scrolling through all of like my favorite like before versus after, or just different words that you can type in. You can just kind of try whatever. And
Yeah.
obviously, like I'm not in skincare, but you can
Mhm.
kind of customize the template, which is kind of
Yeah.
fun. So, I think this year I'm going to do like my top post for 2024. So,
Hmm.
2024, or even like you could title this a name. Like, let's see, let's maybe work on the photos first. So, this one, if you click on the image, you can replace the image, I believe. Here we go, right here.
Mhm.
Replace with upload. And let's go to Adobe Live and we'll do this one.
Okay.
I love Japan. Oh, it turned it black and white. Haha. That's because the
Ooh.
photo was black and white. All right. Well, if that happens, you can just delete that. You kind of just make it your, oh, I always do that. Control T. Kind of make it your own, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice. Like I already have this like layout, right? It's like has this border and this key border, the
Yeah.
before and after, like the fonts. I feel like sometimes I can spend hours just on like one font. I'm like, what looks better?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And there's so many options too. I love Adobe fonts. That has been such a lifesaver and a game
Yeah.
changer for me.
I love that, like the recommendations.
Hmm.
Definitely. So you already have this. You can kind of add some, let's see, maybe some media or elements. Elements. I always like adding like little X's or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Oh, and I wanted to let you know too, it looks like we have about 15 minutes left on the live, but you're doing great. You're doing so
Cool.
good. I know the people are engaged. They're loving the stream. We've got quite a few
Perfect.
people watching right now too, very active in the chat.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you guys are here. That makes my heart happy to like see that my followers exist. But I
Yeah.
think too, like spending so much time online, like I just work at my office in my home, that it's
Mhm.
super fun to be able to get to do stuff like this,
Yeah.
to like just meet with other creatives and other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And just learn and gain inspiration. I know I'm learning so much. I've done little things as far as removal and generative fill, but you're showing me and you're showing us extents to these tools that I think a lot of us didn't even know existed. Like even I'm still shook at the fact that you can turn the clone stamp tool.
Yes, that was like, I feel like too, if you think about something like, I wish I could do this in Photoshop. There's
Yeah.
probably you probably can. And so usually I'm just like, how to do this. But yeah, that's a game changer is being able to turn that.
Hmm.
And then also you can flip it like
Oh,
horizontally or
Yes.
vertically, which
Yes.
I use this a lot too, because then it's just like 50-50.
Yeah.
You don't have to like try to like do this all the way to 90 or something like that.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I love that.
Girl, if I had known that, you know how much time I would have saved? You know how many
Right.
times I've hit the little transform and just try
Yeah,
to,
right. Were you trying to like exactly? Oh yeah, so it's funny. That's still a habit of mine, but yeah, technically you could have done that with
yeah.
this. Um, you could have just gone in and clicked right there.
Mm.
And I guess it's already flipped, I think. Flip it, and then you can kind of see
And then just
the
color that
panel.
thing in.
Yeah,
Wow.
which okay,
Wow.
it's going a little crazy right now because that is. But yeah, you just move it straight across. Which oh wait,
Mm.
why is it doing that? Flip. Okay, there we go. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, and then just color, which just
Yeah,
makes it
see,
like
there you go.
super exact, but it's kind of
Wow.
fun because then that's all you have to do.
So, do you think generative fill has saved you time, like having done this before the existence of that tool? Are you like, oh, thank God?
I think it more allows me to accept more requests.
Mm.
Like, I think sometimes, especially I think expanding an image,
Mm.
there are a
Oh,
lot of
yes.
times where it's like, oh, can you add this person to this photo?
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm not sure if they'll be able to fit like this
Yeah.
one. Um,
Yeah.
I had to add all of these people. And so generative fill really helped me like be able to like use more brick because there's only so much brick, right? You can clone stamp.
Yes.
Um, so like because even if like you went through, so sometimes generative fill does help me like create lines, and if they're a little messy, I'm able to like
Oh,
fix them. But yeah, it just kind of gives me like my base. I feel like it's almost like my, my rough draft, and then I
yeah.
can like touch it up to make it look, seamless.
Mm.
So in that sense, like I feel like before I would be like, oh, like I'm not sure if I can fit them in, or like they're gonna be have to be cut off, right?
Hmm.
So now like ever since generative fill and generative expand came out, I'm like, oh yeah, like I can do that, like no
Yeah.
problem. So
Mm. Wow.
that's exciting because I used to be like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But let's see, or like see, like this would be easy to clone stamp, but it
Yeah.
does just like give me more of like a variety of trees, right? Like they
Yeah.
probably would have been more or less the same looking kind of tree. So I love that.
Yeah.
Um, what it does. And see, like this is kind of like what I was doing in Adobe Express, just like kind of making like more visually appealing. I feel like that's very popular right now on like YouTube and Instagram. It's kind of
Hmm.
making like, just little arrows pointing to like what you're doing.
Hmm.
Especially people like to read stuff now, like when they're scrolling. Um,
Hmm.
and then replace with
Wow.
brother. But
Now,
yeah,
I have a bit of a spicy question.
let's
Um,
hear it.
has anybody ever asked you to do like artificial weight loss on them?
Yes, they have. And I don't really like to post about it just because I
Hmm.
know people can get like really self-conscious about it.
Hmm.
And I feel like I love like being able to like see like a big difference, right? Like you go from like before,
Hmm.
then after, right? You're like, wow, especially like with my video,
Yeah.
usually like I'm erasing something. So like usually like if I'm fixing their hair, like their
Hmm.
face shape or body, I just don't usually post about it because I'm just like, I know you probably don't want the world to see that. So,
Yeah.
but very few, just because I feel like there's a lot of like free apps out there that people mostly do it. But
Mm.
yeah, for sure, I do a little bit of that. But definitely not like my most common request.
Request.
But
Got
yeah.
it. All right. We've got a couple more questions for you. So Carmen said, how many projects on average do you work on a week? Love that question. And then you got a compliment from Jesse Gax. I love how nonchalant you use the tools because sometimes it could be confusing for me.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely just like going in. I actually remember seeing like years ago when I was in middle school, seeing a guy like remove someone in a wedding photo and he like, moved like the boardwalk to like, fill the space in. And I was like, how does he do that? Like it was just magical to me. And I thought, oh, I could never do that. I could never do that. And as I was getting older, I love Photoshop, so I used to do stuff. I would mostly work on like if you've been following me for a while, I used to do like more like artsy stuff, like add fires
Mm.
or fairies in
Mm.
my photos or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, oh, I can never do that. And I realized I was like, I feel like I know all the tools in Photoshop. Like I really could. I just kind of have to like believe that I can. And yeah, ever since then, it's just like this one, it would be kind of hard because it's like you have to go through and like measure all those lines, right? It kind
Yeah.
of looks a little daunting. But if you're just like, yeah, I could figure that out. I feel like using like those three tools that you know, like the erase tool, clone stamp tool, the selection tool, it's like, oh yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if people are struggling out there for like Photoshop, because I know it is like there are so many tools to use. It's like what do I or even like how to get to like that image replacement. It's like you got to
Mhm.
click here, adjustments, match color or replace color. And you're like, how am I supposed to remember all of that? So
Yeah.
I get that it can be a lot.
Yeah, after
But,
a while, it's kind of like muscle memory too. Like even with
mhm.
I don't know, maybe frequency separation, there's like a million steps in doing something like that. But once you've done it a couple times, you're just kind of like, okay, edit, apply image,
Mhm.
layers, change the blending mode, all that stuff. I can't
Yeah.
even describe it, but I could do it, with my eyes closed. Um,
It yeah.
uh,
It definitely gets like you used to stuff and especially when you keep making mistakes, it is like, oh, okay, like it
mhm.
really makes you remember, like, okay, don't do that. Okay, make two layers just in case, or yeah,
Yeah.
I'm never gonna use that tool again because that didn't help. It just like the more mistakes you make, the like more it does help you to be like, oh, okay, I got this now. So,
Yep. Yep.
but
Oh, and Carmen said, how many projects on average do you work on a week?
oh yeah, that's right. Depending on how long they take, I would say at least do 1 to 3 people's projects
Mm.
a day. A lot of my
Ooh.
time is spending like answering emails. So usually I'll answer all my emails, which depending on how long it'll take,
Hmm.
just giving them like an estimate on like their photos.
Hmm.
And then I'll work on 1 to 3, depending on how long they take, 5 if I'm like working really late and I'm trying to get stuff done like in time for Christmas. And
Hmm.
so like, yeah, I guess average 3 a day, 3 times 5
Hmm.
is 15. So 15 projects a week. So I
Yeah.
definitely have like a lot in my queue
Ooh.
that I'm working on at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's booked and busy. Listen.
Yeah.
And I would imagine around this time of year, probably your workload is picking up and it's just kind of like, listen, you could send me photos, but don't expect them back till 2025.
Yeah, I know. It's like kind of hard because I'm like, I want to be a fast turnaround service, but it's like
Hmm.
sometimes, right? Like I said, like some photos will take longer than I thought.
Yeah.
Uh, and you're like, oh, well, that just pushed me out a day, right? Or like
Yeah.
answering emails, or like if I'm doing stuff like this, or I do a lot of brand deals. So if I'm working on a video, that's going to take a chunk of my day,
Mhm.
1 or 2 days, or like, even throughout the whole week.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it just like kind of depends like what I'm working on. And, all like the back end stuff, like my social media, my website, doing updates like that.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, all of that can kind of take a while. And that kind of goes into my pricing too. I'll have some
Yeah.
people be like, wow, that's like way too expensive. I'm like, well, you're also like the select few that I'm
Yeah.
like choosing. So
Yeah.
like, because I have like 2,500 emails of just requests, right? So it's like
Yeah.
I can't get to them all. There are tons of photo editors out there, so I'm kind of like, yeah, like here are my.
Yeah.
I actually give people recommendations. Yeah, like if you don't want me, like here are people that are cheaper,
Yeah.
because it's like I get that, but also I'm like I am the better one, so
Yeah.
I'm like you're
Listen.
getting me, so
Yes,
but
exactly. Once you've
yeah,
perfected your craft to a certain degree, you can charge what you need to charge and just accept, you are not everybody's photo editor, and that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. I'm like yeah, I do only have time, yeah, for what I can for what one human can do,
Yeah.
so. It is what it is. But
Girl, you got to get you a virtual assistant.
oh my gosh, I know I'm like, I need to hire people. And I've tried hiring like video editors too, but
Hmm.
man, I don't
Mhm.
know. It's a hard task.
Yeah.
You're trying to like reach out to people, trying to find someone that fits you. And then I've had people say, like, oh no, like you don't really fit my style. I'm like, that's fine. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely need to hire more people.
All right, awesome. And I just wanted to let you know too, we have about 5 minutes left on the stream. So anything else you want to just kind of like run us through, show us really quick?
Um, yeah, I guess just like when in doubt, for like posting too, I know like sometimes it's kind of hard as an artist to like post about your work. You're like, I'm not an advertiser, right? Sometimes it feels like you're advertising for yourself. And I do really think like Adobe Express has made that easy for me because I
Mhm.
feel like I've used other platforms. And I'm like, I just love how, look, it's already done, right? And I have to change this. So I really think that's like super simple for me, especially making like reels or thumbnails. I
Mhm.
always use this. So that makes my workflow really fast too, kind of saves
Yeah.
time. And then using just like generative fill and AI tools, just like as a shortcut, like help you kind of like, okay, I don't need to spend hours trying
Mhm.
to figure this out. I don't need to spend hours,
Mhm.
trying to get rid of this fence when I could just like,
Right.
make it a bush. I could just make it a hedge because hedges are pretty, right?
Edges are pretty.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's been super fun hanging out with you, Zara, and talking to everyone. Thanks for being so
Like
active.
likewise, likewise. We have the same name just in like different dialects too. I'm
I
Zara and you're Sarah. It's like Sara.
I
Yeah.
love that because I actually used to live in Italy and they would call me Sara, and I love that.
Really?
So like hearing your name Zara, I'm like, "Oh, that is like a perfect name."
Oh wow, that is so funny. What a dynamic duo. Shout out to Adobe
Yeah.
for putting this thing together.
Oh yeah.
Clap it up for Adobe. Leave some claps and snaps in the chat, y'all. And let us know what your favorite program is. And we've got a couple more chats for you too, just to kind of close us out. So Jesse Gack said, it's been 20 years since I used all the Adobe apps. By the way, last name is Gaxiola. Gaxiola. Love that. A lot has changed. Winter Powell said, don't undersell yourself. Thank you, Miss Winter.
Thank you.
Period. They
Retweet.
will pay.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yes. First time I made it into these live chats and videos. Clap it up for yourself, Jesse. Give yourself some claps and snaps in the
Welcome,
chat.
Jesse.
Yes. And let's see what they're saying on Behance. Ooh, one time I did a tummy tuck for an already gorgeous client. Digital plastic surgery. Woo, child. That's relatable content. That
Yeah.
is relatable content, unfortunately.
Sometimes it's just you want to look how you felt, right? I get it.
I can totally understand for like bloating though, because sometimes it's literally just air. Like, I don't mind like pushing a tummy back that's clearly bloated. Like, girl, you worked
Yeah.
for that tummy. It's just whatever you was eating is not sitting right, so we
Right.
just go.
Bad moment. You just had a meal. And that's why I'm okay with doing it because some editors don't want to do that kind of stuff. But I'm like,
Mhm.
I get it. Like the camera really does add 10 pounds. So
It does.
it
It
really does.
literally does.
It's
Yes.
distorted, so I get it.
Yeah. I've seen those videos too. I don't know if you've seen them where they compare like lens focal lengths and they
Yes.
literally show how like your face will get wider as the focal length goes up. So like an 85 millimeter like face and body as opposed to like a 13 millimeter face and body, very stark difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I love those. Just to kind of show like, yeah, like you do look different in real life. Like it's not just in your head. So
Yes. Robert said, great work, Sarah. Claps and snaps in the chat.
thank you.
Got anything else? All right. Yeah. The Behance chat was popping.
Yeah, thanks.
Uh, keep up the great work. I forgot how therapeutic. Also, you said my name right. Most people have trouble saying it. Whoa.
Good job, Sarah. You got it
No,
right.
good job to you. Good job to you. This was awesome. This was awesome. So one last time for the people just tuning in, where can they follow you? I think they'd love to see your IG
They
again.
can follow me at Sarah's underscore underscore snapshots. And then my TikTok is just Sarah snapshots, just like Sarah snapshots. And then YouTube, same thing, Sarah snapshots.
Nice.
So
Nice.
kind of easy. I have it all linked in my link tree as well. So you can find like I do have photo tutorials if you want to check those out. And then my links, if you do want a photo edit request, you can click here and just
Perfect.
all my other stuff. It's just all on one page.
Perfect. Very organized. Listen, y'all know where to go. Go get your ex-family members removed.
Go get them for the year, for the
Yeah.
Christmas time.
All right. All right. So we'll be right back with another live, but for now, peace.
Thanks, guys. Love you all.